Hello, Matt Smudio here, and I'd like to welcome you to a new series of videos that I'm going to be doing, which is kind of a spin-off of my Slackware series. But this new series will be about kind of in response to this question here on one of my other videos, where he asks, could I do a minimal install of Slackware with OpenBox as a window manager, for instance? Choose another window manager, but could you show the whole process? And then what I said to him was that sounds like a cool video to do, but what I want to do is make it part of my casual comparison between Slackware and Ubuntu. So I'm going to do minimal installs of both of them, and that's going to kind of start off this new series, which is going to be about a comparison between the user experiences that one might have when using Slackware or using Ubuntu. A couple things I wanted to clarify up front is everything I do in this series is not going to be intended to be like a how-to cookbook or like a recipe of how to do all this stuff. What I really want to do is I simply want to kind of go through what the user may experience. And, there will be some how-to stuff in here, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time making sure that it's really complete or really, like a great tutorial. It's really more of a commentary on how things kind of look to the user as they're doing this stuff. So, okay, so that's what I'm going to be doing. Let me start out by talking about the environment I'm going to be using. So, this is my kind of my big server. Let me show you the basics of so it's got 16 cores. And it's got 64 gigs of memory. And what I do with this server is it's my physical host for virtual machines and containers. And I have a really large ZFS pool or a Z pool on here. So I got like a 16 terabyte ZFS pool on here. So, I keep my virtual machines. I also want to kind of go through a little bit of how I do virtual, my preference for virtual machines. So let me give you a first glimpse of this. So I've got LV. I'm also using LVM for some stuff here too. So let's start at the beginning. If I do a PVS, you can see I have one physical volume. It's roughly 2 terabytes. And then if I do a LVS, you can see these are my virtual or my logical volumes. So I create logical volumes to present to various virtual machines. So I've got a virtual machine called Coin, and its home disk is a logical volume on the physical host. And I've got a virtual machine called Proto. It's the disk that I present to it, which it mounts as its home. I've got created as a logical volume. So you can see how that works. LXC info. Oh, that's right. Yeah, so I've got like 3 containers right now on this server. I've got Slack and Roshi and Pixie. Oh, I guess I got 4. But Roshi is my database server. I run that in a container. And this is like just a personal desktop that I use that I run in a container so that it has, I keep my personal work separate from the rest of the server by running it in this container, but the container itself has access to all the resources. So it's kind of neat. Those are other just miscellaneous containers. Anyway, so that's just to give you an idea of what this server is all about. So I keep my virtual machines here, and I use KVM with QEMU as the hypervisor. Let me just, and so what I'm doing here is I'm setting up 2 new virtual machines, demo Ubuntu and demo Slack. Let me just show you a little bit about what those look like. Actually, I've actually got this preloaded up. So this is a Vim Diff type of view, side-by-side view. Actually, it isn't showing the diffs, so let me just redo that. So I'm going to use the Vim Diff program. I'm going to go demo Slack start and demo Ubuntu start. Okay, and I'm gonna reset the font here for you. I like real small stuff, so that's why it comes up small, but I'm gonna set it to something big that you can see. Okay. So it's a here's a side-by-side diff view. You can see the differences between these 2 start scripts. So the VM name is just that's the name of the virtual machine. You can see that's one place where it's different. Another place that's different is the VNC variable, which it's set to 30 here and it's set to 40 here. And then the MAC address that its virtual network card will get is different. That's the only differences in the files. And so you can see I've got the rest. This is my and I wrote this. This is my my standard startup script for a QEMU virtual machine using KVM. And you can see I set some variables that kind of gives you an idea of what how the machine is set up. So I give it 4 gig of RAM, I give it 4 virtual CPUs, I set the CPU type to the native KVM 64-bit virtual CPU. It's got some disk stuff, it's got some network setup stuff, and then it depending on whether it's headless or not, it does invokes the QEMU KVM command. And but I wanted to show this here. I can close one of these so you can see it better. I wanted to show this because I wanted to show how really simple it is to do virtual machines with QEMU and KVM. I mean, there's a little bit of a learning curve to understanding all of these options, but once you kind of understand the options, you just write a simple script for your startup. And I've got it all kind of tweaked out with variables where I just copy the start script to make a new virtual machine and tweak some of the variables, and I got myself a new virtual machine. So that's how I like to do it. That's kind of how I roll. So I have the 2 virtual machines set up. They're startup scripts. So let's go into the demo Slack. So I got the startup script here. One thing I'm missing is I don't quite yet have. I'm going to bring this up here. Let me set the font here again. GUI font equals. That's right. I picked a different typeface. Let's go to Deja Vu. Deja Vu 22. There. That's kind of a little bit more readable, I think. All right. So these are my notes. These are some notes I keep. So here's my basic notes on QEMU stuff. Notice here's a QEMU image, and create. I'm gonna create a disk image, and it gives you the kind of parameters. Now I happen to know that QCOW2, COW stands for copy on write. It's a technique for managing virtual disks. This is the kind of the most modern, sophisticated way of doing it. So and I'm gonna name it and give it a size. So I'm just gonna create the virtual disk here. I'm just going to go with something like 14 gig for each system disk. So QEMU image create QCOW2. I know it's going to, I remember from my start script that it's going to have a VD because I'm using virt.io for the disks. It's going to have a VDA type name, and I'm going to make it 14 gig. Let's make it 18 gig. Just for the heck of it. So we'll do that. My disk is created. See, it looks good. I'm going to do the same thing for the demo Ubuntu. All right, so I got 2 brand new clear virtual disks. The 2 startup scripts are almost identical, with the, they have to have the differences. They have to have different MAC addresses. They have to have different names. Different locations. So there's that. And then, let me. Vim. Let me just go ahead and set the font again. I shouldn't have closed this because we may actually look at it to talk about as we do this stuff. Get this back open. Expand. Yeah, this is the other difference that has to be. So we're going to boot. Notice to boot from CD-ROM, you set it to D, so I've got it set to D, but my Slackware one needs to boot from a different ISO. Actually, I think the Ubuntu one does too. I think I've got 1710. I keep my ISOs under an ISO directory, under the virtual machine directory. So let's see what we got here. We've got free Slack. Well, let's do the Ubuntu one first. So, we've got 1704. I believe I downloaded. Here, hold on a second. Password. Oh, I didn't. Hold on, I need to. No, must have did it on Slack, I think. So I changed the host name. Sorry about this. Okay, yeah, so I got 1710. This is going to take just a couple seconds to get over here. All right, so we've got 1710 here. So it's Ubuntu-1710-server amd64.iso. Okay, so that's good. And now I'm going to change the free Slack one. Oops. Oh, great. I put it in the wrong directory. Okay, so let me get this back in front here. Change ownership and permissions to the way I like them. Okay, and I've got free Slack 14.2. Okay, so that looks good. Get that name in here, free Slack 64 14.2 install dvd.iso. Okay, so now our ISO names are correct for the 2 different virtual machines. So let me explain a little bit about this. I'm going to use free Slack for the Slackware side, just because I use free Slack now. It's if you haven't followed my explanation of what free Slack is, you can probably refer to some of my previous videos and I talk about it. But it's basically Slackware with everything non-free pruned out of it. So that's that. I'm going to use Ubuntu Server because that's the closest thing to a minimal install that Ubuntu really offers, and it's also the version of Ubuntu, or the variant of Ubuntu that would most closely match what Slackware is in its in a kind of a minimal install that you would do for that. So this is a really good matchup between these two to do a comparison. Now, if you install regular Ubuntu desktop, you're going to get something completely different. And you could try to do a comparison between Slackware and that, but it would literally be like, you wouldn't be really starting out on the same footing because regular Ubuntu comes with a ton of stuff. So, yeah, anyway, hopefully it's clear why I'm doing this. I think it's a better comparison. So we will proceed this way. So I'm just going to iconify this just in case we want to come back and look at that again. Stick that away up there. And now, if we did our work right, we should be getting, oh yeah, let me also, let's bring this back up. Let me point this out. So this VNC variable, the QEMU hypervisor actually presents you with a console as a VNC desktop. So we're going to see the Slackware one as VNC desktop 30 and the Ubuntu one as VNC desktop 40. So let's go ahead and see if we can fire these virtual machines up and if we can get to those consoles. So I'm going to get, so VNC viewer, wait a minute. Yeah, we need to be on the host that the virtual machines are running on. So let me get there. Let's see, do I have a, yeah, I don't, yeah, here we go. So even though I know this terminal is really small, so you can't see it, I'm just going to run the VNC viewer commands. So VNC viewer localhost :30. Okay, and I'm going to wait to run that until I get the virtual machine fired up here. So let's do that. So we'll go to the Slack demo Slack, sorry. And we should have everything ready to go here. So I'm just going to do start. Okay, we have an error. Could not open. Oh, yeah, I put an extra ISO in there, so let me edit that. Had to look at a text there. Okay, so put an extra ISO subdirectory in there. And I did not do that on the Ubuntu side, so it should be good. All right, iconify this. Let's give it another try. Hopefully it'll work better this time. And good. We've got our virtual machine running. Let's see if we can get to the console, and look at that. We are at the console. And that is the standard Slackware installation screen that you would see. Guess this is maybe a little small. I'm not really sure how to increase the scale of this to make it more visible. Gosh, of course my wife has to be texting me while I'm doing a video. Hold on a second, sorry. Okay, yeah, should I proceed with this way, or? Yeah, because I don't want to really show too much detail about this. I'm just going to go ahead. So this is as far as I'm going to go with this one until we get the other one up. So let's background that. Okay, I'm going to actually switch back demo Ubuntu and fire up the Ubuntu one. Okay, that one started up. And now I'm going to go to localhost 40 for the VNC. And look at that. There's our console for the Ubuntu. So I've got it. Here, let me get the, probably won't need this too much. Let me get that. Yeah, let me get this out of the way too. Might be a little easier to see if we get that stuff out of the background. Let's bring them down to the bottom here. All right, so here's our Slackware. Here's our Ubuntu. Okay, because we want to keep these videos to under 20 minutes so I can get them onto VidMe, I will continue with this in the next episode. So stay tuned. Thanks.